Hello, good people of YouTube and anywhere. Uh, if you see the description, that's basically what really happened. So, I'm not really supposed to do. I'm really jumping into the out of the course as of right now. So I really want to do a check sound first to make sure everything is working fine as usual. But yeah. Wait. Let me go to the studio. Make sure everything running just fine. But basically, I've been watching Small James channel for a while, especially learning all the web dev and everything. And he has this project which is literally uploaded 2 months ago. I've seen it before, but I didn't like directly practice it because I thought I could just learn it slowly but surely. But I ran out of patience, and that I kind of really need to make the website for this project fast. And so I want to do this 1 hour tutorial and to see whether or not I can do it or not, uh, to build this website right away, right now, exactly right now. And let's see if I failed, because I really skip a lot of part. I haven't finished the JavaScript part in like the Codecademy course. The HTML is not finished. The CSS is not finished. So this is kind of a little bit of trolling, but uh, I don't mind, because if you watch the title, I drank coffee in the worst timing ever, and that I shouldn't drink it, and now I can't really sleep even though uh, it's almost 11, and that I forgot I need to upload a video first. So one moment, I'll upload a video, and then after this I am going to do the project right away, building the thing. And I just realized we hit 140 subscribers. That's awesome. Thank you. And that I forgot I need to upload a video first. So yeah, that's awesome. Wait, let me. I have this. I need to upload the video. Yeah, this. I just made the thumbnail a few minutes ago, and then yeah. So okay, one moment. I need to make sure I uh didn't do anything wrong, and not do anything stupid for myself. So okay, okay. Let me post this video. It's on my Instagram. It's an old video, but I wanna like re-upload it here. And it was really cool. It was really cool. Totally didn't forgot materials. Okay. Not only that, this was project blah 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 blah. Project N. Okay, that's good. That's good. That's good. And then hashtag Python. Pyth. My God, I can't even spell Python right. Python, and then data science, and then programming, and then yeah, that's it. I want to tag. I'll tag Guido, the creator of Python. Okay. Uh, Fon, is that his name? Oh, okay, never mind. Wait. Okay, That's working. The chat is working as well. So I just need to. One moment, guys. Please allow me to. One people watching. That's probably myself. Okay, I'm watching myself watching the live. So that's very very nice. I'm so sorry. I forgot. I really forgot to do this, but yes. Okay, I already watched the intro, and all I need to is just follow it, and hopefully we can finish it. even though I doubt it, but let's give it a try. Share. Okay, let's see. One moment, I need to grab the iPad to promote this. 1 second. Sorry if this takes so long, but it's 4 a.m. and this is 4 a.m. and this is the continuing basics fully data science in Python from dataquest.io, continuing from yesterday's lesson about Jupyter Notebook. Hello, it's 4 a.m. Hello, it's 4 a.m. Hello, it's 4 a.m. Hello, it's 4 hello, it's 4 a.m. Hello, it's 4 a.m. and this is the continuing basics fully data science in Python from dataquest.io, continuing from yesterday's lesson about Jupyter Notebook. Hello, it's 4 a.m. and this is the continuing basics fully data science in Python from dataquest.io, continuing from yesterday's lesson about Jupyter Notebook. Sorry, I am back, people. It's 4 a.m. and this is the continuing basics. You guys could skip directly to. Oh no, looks like you're on an older version. Yesterday's lesson. Blah blah blah. Share. Copy. Hello. It's 4 a.m. Sorry, it's gonna take way longer than I thought, and totally unprofessional. In Python from dataquest.io, continuing from it. Hello. It's 4 a.m. and this is the. This is totally unprofessional. I'm so sorry, guys. No, nobody's watching anyway, so that's cool. That's cool. Hello. Okay, what was I about to do again? Okay, this one. Okay, I need to do link, which I already copy. Watch me. What's a good title? What do you think is a good title? What do you feel a good title name? Probably something like. I'm actually cook. I don't know. I feel pretty good about the new thumbnail. I quite like it. And then we can add this. And then new thumbnail. All right, and then we want to give it a rating so people could rate whether or not they like it or not. Actually cooked. Okay, that's good, right? That's actually a good title. Damn. It's CBOM doing a row. That's totally unnecessary. Anyways, so yeah, basically we want to do this project by Small James. Sorry, it took like 15 minutes to set up everything else. We hit 140 subscriber, which is amazing. Thank you guys. And yeah. So I've watched the intros.
There's two
And
applications we'll need installed.
what I'm planning to do is just follow everything and basically directly following whatever he type, whatever he copies, whatever he do, so that yeah, I could just learn right away to create and use React. So later when I do the React in course, I could at least learn something, or like at least, you know, I already know what this bit, and how it will be used in like a real website or project. So this is a bit of a gambling, and I don't know if it's gonna be a waste of time or not, but that's what's all this channel all about. It's about experimenting, and
the first one
let's
is
do it right away.
Visual Studio Code. As you can see, I have a window open here.
We already have Visual Studio, so that's good.
Now, if you don't have either of those installed on your device,
I already have Node.js, so that's good.
You can find a guide to install them linked in the description down below. It's super easy to follow along, and it should only take a minute.
Nice.
Now with these installed, we're going to start off by initializing our React project with Vite, where Vite is just a build tool that aims to provide a faster and leaner development experience for React or web projects. Now if we scroll down in the documentation, we can see there's some instructions that we can copy into a terminal, and to open up a terminal we can come into VS Code, and if we type Control-Shift-P, you will then get a search bar where you can find toggle.
Okay, my VS Code is still in a new, so let's create a new window, which is empty, I think. This one is for another project, which I'm supposed to finish. Save. Okay, cancel. That's not supposed to save. Oh. Oh. Wait. Shoot. Okay. Wait. Let me fix this. Let me fix this first. Okay. Wait. Cancel. Try again. Sorry. So, oh my God, everything is such a mess. Why is it such a mess? Wait. Yeah. Let me save everything first from this old project. It's actually not old. I still need to finish this as well. But that's another. Sorry. This is getting out of hand, and the caffeine just hit by now. The caffeine took so slow, man. Retry. I already turned on the Raspberry. I remember I already saved everything, so I'm not really sure why was it not working. Right? Can I exit? Okay. Yeah, I know there's a lot of errors, but that's okay. Exit. Okay, I already have the VS Code right over here. And then we can follow
terminal. Equally, you can open the terminal from the folder options, and we see a terminal pops up down the bottom. Now, what we want to do is cd into the appropriate directory. So for me, it's GitHub2. CD stands for change.
I have some I also have a what do you call it? Wait, what? You can use ls in this terminal? Huh? I didn't know that. Wait, what? I thought you cannot use that in PowerShell. Okay, so it's CD desktop. Wait, what? You can do that? Huh. Okay, Okay, apparently if you use PowerShell and VS Code, you can use the Linux command. The
change
more you know.
directory, and this is where I create all of my projects. So once in that directory, what I can now do is type in these installation instructions.
Wait, I want to check whether or not Node is installed. Node-v. That option. Node-v. Yes, I already have Node, so that's good.
Instructions for React. So it's npm create vite at latest, just like that. Now, if we type a space after that, we can name our application, and I'm going to call mine NASA React app. Very simple. And you'll want to use dashes instead of spaces for your project names. Now, if we hit enter on that, Vite is going to configure our project. So it's going to ask us to select a framework. We want the React framework. We're going to just use JavaScript, and just like that, our project is created, and now we can select the open option.
Okay. So it's npm create vite at latest. Right? Yeah, okay, fine. Project name. Let's name it NASA React as well. Why is it different? Let's do it's React and then it's JavaScript. Done. Okay, should we run the npm to update it to the latest? I'll probably move my head to the bottom just so the code could be seen better. Why are you guys not sleeping? Why is people still liking this? Isn't this like 4 a.m. in Indonesia?
In the menu up here, we can find our projects directory, and we can just select that folder and click on open. Now we have a React project installed on our computer that we can go crazy with. Now, just to quickly,
Okay, let's go back.
The React framework, we're going to just use JavaScript, and just like that, our project is created, and now we can select the open option in the menu up here. We can find our projects directory, and we can just select that folder and click on open. Now we have a React project installed on our computer that we can go crazy with. Now, just to quickly run over what we have here, there's a whole lot of files. Basically, we have a vite config file.
npm file. Nah, I don't need to know that. So we go to open file. Was it?
File when our projects directory. Now we can select the open option and
Open file. Let's go to, it's in the desktop. It's in the dev, and then it's the NASA React. Open, and I think it should be. Okay. Is it open? Oh, it's open folder. Sorry. Desktop, dev, NASA React, select folder. And yeah.
in the menu up here, we can find our projects directory, and we can just select that folder and click on open. Now we have a React project installed on our computer that we can go crazy with. Now, just to quickly run over what we have here, there's a whole lot of files. Basically, we have a vite config file. We're not going to touch that. We have a README. You could go ahead and write a nice README document for this project using the Markdown language. We have a package.json, which is where we have all our scripts, all of our dependencies. It's a lot of fun.
Wait, I need to go to the bathroom first. I need to wash my face.
We shouldn't really have to touch this one too much. We have an index.html. Now this is just some blank HTML boilerplate code. The
Okay.
interesting thing about this
Boilerplate.
document is if we come into the body, normally that's where all the content on the page is found. And here we have a div that has an ID of root, and we have a script. And the script is the main.jsx located within the source directory. If we open up the source directory, there's a whole lot of files in here. React, when you first install it with Vite, comes with a pre-configured project. So we're going to clear all of that so we have a blank slate to develop on. And
Okay.
basically how React works is we have our app.jsx. This is a React file, a React component. It's our app component. We'll learn more about components shortly.
Okay. App
And
component.
basically we can have subcomponents, and anything that we write out in here, this main.jsx, this is more of a JavaScript file. It reads in the app component, and then what it does is it selects that div with the ID of root that we found in the index.html, and it basically injects all of our React code into that div, which then gets shown on the screen. So we don't really have to touch this file. It's good just to understand how it works. So what we could go ahead and do is actually open up a terminal once again, and we could go ahead and run the npm run dev command, ensuring that you're in the project directory. And if I hit enter on that, that does nothing, and that's because first we have to run npm install. Now this command, the npm install command, just installs all of the packages specified within our package.json that our React application is dependent on.
So npm run dev. Let's try that as well. npm run dev. Vite is not being reset. Okay, maybe npm install first. Yeah. At least it's doing something. So
with that installed, we can go ahead and run the npm run dev. That basically just selects this div.
is it supposed to be this long? Types React DOM, plugin creator, ESLint, blah blah blah, Vite as well. So okay. What is this? Why do we have so much warning? Okay, 103 package are looking for funding. Added to 178, audited to 178. So all we have to do is
Dev script inside of our package.json and executes it, and that will boot up our project. Here we can see our project is started up on localhost 5174. I can go ahead and copy and paste.
Okay, let's try that as well. npm run dev. It's also running on localhost this, and as you can see, it's working. Let's refresh it. Okay, nice. Sorry, okay.
That into my browser, and now we can see the default boilerplate code that comes when you Vite install a project. So that's kind of fun. It's a reactive app, and it tells us that we can edit the app.jsx and save to test basically the React functionality, and that we have a working app. So with that all done, I went ahead and closed the package.json, and our project is now up and running.
Nice.
Now we're going to go ahead and delete some code. I'm going to delete the app.css. I'm going to come into the app.jsx file. This is our home, our hub file. I'm going to remove all of the code from in here, except for the functional app component and the return statement. So what we'll end up with is literally just a function that's called app, and it returns what's known as React fragments, which is JSX. Now, if you're not familiar with React, basically how it works is we build a project out of components where a component is a sub-portion of related logic.
Okay.
The components are functional components.
Functional
component,
component,
every component is a function, and the functions return what's known as JSX, which is basically just HTML that allows JavaScript to be written directly into it. For example, just in here, now we have a completely blank application, but if I come into here and if I write some keys, we can see that now shows up on our screen. And now if I wanted to write 8 times 4, for example, that evaluates to 32. However, that still comes out as text on our screen, But if I wanted to make it JavaScript interactive, I could wrap it inside of the curly parentheses, and now that evaluates inside of the HTML that is returned from the functional
it's empty.
component.
Well,
So the moral of the story is that React allows us to write very dynamic, interactive
wait,
web applications where you can just insert JavaScript straight into the HTML, which is much harder to do with plain old vanilla HTML and CSS. Now for this project, we're down to the boilerplate code. And if we come into the index.css, in here we can see we have a lot of boilerplate code as well. I'm actually going to leave this. And the other thing that's worth mentioning at this moment is that if you have any questions throughout the tutorial, you're always welcome to post them in the Discord channel, and either myself or someone else will help you work through them. And likewise, if you want to check out the GitHub repo that contains my code to compare yours to, that is also linked in the description down below.
No worries,
There, if you got that. That would be super appreciated too. So the first thing we're going to do in our project is inside of the source directory, we're going to create a folder called components.
Okay.
And this is going to have all of our component logic. And the main components we're going to have, one is going to be a main.jsx. And in here, what we can do is we can write export default function main, just as we would a normal function. And then we're going to return, and as per usual, it just returns an empty
Copilot knows what I'm
and this
doing,
is the
so
bare bones
that's
logic
awesome.
for a functional component. The next one we're going to create is a footer.jsx component. We're going to once again export a default function called footer.
I learned that from another tutorial. So by using like a, I forgot, it's like a React extension. So you could just write RFCE, I think this one, ES7 React Redux, and then you can write RFCE. It's gonna be a functional component.
One thing to know about React.
But you know what? Since we're following him, let's just do export default function footer.
React components is that they normally are capitalized and they match the file name. And here we can once again return some logic, some HTML or JSX, except this time we're going to return the footer component. And then the third component we're going to create is basically a sidebar. Now this will be an optional modal as well, but what we're just going to do is once again write export default function, and that's going to be sidebar, like so, and likewise we can just return the empty div. So that's pretty straightforward. So just like that, we have all of the components for
using a side is much more semantic, isn't it? So okay, let's check the HTML aside, maybe. As a sidebar. Okay, it's a little bit more semantic. So let's use the recommendation
for our project. Now what we're going to do is come into the main, and in here what we can do is we can render them out onto the screen. Now if I save that and we come back over to our document, we can see that it's totally still blank. So we've created these components but nothing's showing up. If I just have some text in the main one to demonstrate a point, we can see that none of...
Was it like this? Is it because I didn't put that? And okay, that's not work. Was it like broken?
that still comes up on the screen. And so what we have to do if we want to render components inside of our project is we have to actually render them within the app. Now you can have components within components as long as at the top level they are rendered out within the app.
Okay.
That's absolutely fine. And the way that we do that is we basically write out a component as if it were a regular HTML tag or element.
So
for example,
like
I can render out the main. ensuring that
Okay.
the name of the component
Nice.
here
It's like
matches the function that you export from
it's
the file.
imported
So now we can
it
render out
directly.
the main. Beneath that, I'm going to have the footer component. Now these are self-closing components, they don't have to be. And then above that, I'm going to have the sidebar. And just to demonstrate a point, I'm going to give this one a closing tag, and we can have some text in there. Now if I save that, we can see that the ASD shows up, and that's just from our
It's kind of empty, to be honest, because we don't
main.
really.
So
let's put like a export default already. Export default function already. What is the sidebar? Okay, wait. I think the sidebar is supposed to be empty. The footer is supposed to be empty. The main is supposed to be empty.
So we can see that, you know, this is working correctly.
It's not working for me. So I'm not really sure why.
If I change the text, it changes on our page. So we have successfully rendered these components on the page. So now that we've done that, what we're going to do to build out this project is we're going to first develop everything using some fake data that we don't have to fetch from the internet, that's just local to our computer.
Okay,
Then we
create
can
fake
make our
data.
application look pretty. And then the last thing we're going to do is swap out the fake data for real data from the NASA API, which is going to be absolutely awesome. And the API we're going to be using is APOD, which is Astronomy Picture of the Day. And so here's an example. And so this is what's going to come up on our screen. But for the minute, the image that we're going to use in this project, I have saved locally, and I'm just going to copy it across into our public folder. I generated this myself, and you can download this.
Okay, it's in a public.
If you go over to the GitHub repo and look inside of the public directory.
Let's go to Bing Image Creator to create our own like space image. I'm not really sure what we should create. Wait. I don't know what can we do, or what can we have for our what can we do? What type of space that we should? Okay, let's just do Milky Way galaxy 4K super HD realistic. I don't know, something like that. Okay, wait, I forgot what type of the size of it.
In that source code, you can download the mars.png file and save it to your public directory on your computer. Once again, when you're in the GitHub, if you could start the repo, that would be super appreciated. And now that we have the image installed, we can actually go ahead and render that out inside of the...
Okay. Oh my, okay, let's just use whatever. This, oh wow, damn, this is good. Okay, let's just use this. Save as JPEG. Milky Way Bing image generator. Let's put it in our public folder. I don't know if drags and drop works here. Okay, it works.
The main component. So in here, I can have an image tag. It can have a source equal to mars.png. We can give it an alt tag, which is a description of what the image is, and that can be called Mars Demo Picture, like so, and that's a self-closing tag. And now if we come back into our application, we see we have this.
It's not working. Okay, let's run npm run dev again. Milky Way BIG. Why is it not working?
HD Mars picture. Now, obviously it looks atrocious for the minute, but we will resolve that shortly. The next component we're going to
Wasn't working. Why is it directly not working?
have a fit. In here, we can once again return some logic, some HTML or JSX, except this time we're going to return the footer component. And then the third component we're going to in, and then the component in here, I say we've created, we have to do the tweet tag or out here. And above this, now if I save
Huh, why is it not showing?
that, we can see that the ASD shows up, and that's just from our main. So we can see that, you know, this is working correctly.
It's not working
If I
correctly
change the
on
text, it
mine.
changes on our page. So we have successfully rendered these components on the page. So now that we've done that, what we're going to do to build out this project is we're going to first develop everything using some fake data that we don't have to fetch from the internet, that's just local to our computer. Then we can make our application look pretty. And then the last thing we're going to do is swap out the fake data for real data from the
Why is it not working?
NASA API, which is going to be absolutely awesome. And the API we're going to be using is APOD, which is astronomy. Look inside of the public directory, and
It's in the public directory already.
source code. You can download.
Huh. It's not detecting anything, so why is it not? Is it because wait?
Load the mars.png file and save it to your public directory on your computer. Once again, when you're in the GitHub, if you could start the repo, that would be super appreciated. And now that we have the image installed, we can actually go ahead and render that out inside of the main component. So
Components, main components,
in here,
footer.
I can have an image tag. It can have a source equal to mars.png. We can give it an alt tag, which is a description of what the image is, and that can be called Mars demo picture, like so, and that's a self-closing tag. And now if we come back into our application, we see we have this HD Mars picture. Now obviously it looks atrocious for the minute, but we will resolve that shortly. The next component we're going to have a fiddle with is the footer. So what the footer is going to do is we're going to have a div, and in here we're going to have an h2 tag, and this is going to name the picture. This could be called the Brutal Martian Landscape. That could be the title for the picture. That currently will show up down the bottom of our page. And what we're also going to do is have an h1 underneath that, and this is going to say APOD project, and this is going to be the title of our application. So now we
Okay. Why is it not showing? Oh, what? I don't understand what just happened, to be honest. But okay.
we can see APOD project also shows up down the bottom, but we'll make this look much prettier momentarily.
Let's work, I
Now,
guess.
the other end of the div, we're going to have a button, and this is going to be a special button. And in here, we're going to have an icon, and it's going to be the information icon.
Okay.
Now, what we're going to do is we're going to come over to the Font Awesome 6.0 CDN. This will be linked in the description down below.
Font Awesome CDN. Font Awesome CDN. CDN 6. Okay, let's just go. Yeah, I think this is correct.
Below. If we Google that, you will find this website, and we're going to click on this link tag in the top CDN package. We're going to copy that link tag, and we're going to come into our project, into the index.html, and inside of these head tags, underneath the title, we're going to paste in that link tag.
Okay, we go here, we choose this, we go to index.html, we paste it below the title, and boom, like that. Delicious.
Now what that link tag is going to do is it's going to allow us to use the Font Awesome icon set in our project, and while we're in here, we're also going to rename the title of our website to APOD. If we come over to the footer, we can see what we called it. You could probably be a bit more creative with that. And if we update that title, we can see that our title of the website up here also changes to APOD project. Now that we've installed that, what we can do is we can come over to fontawesome.com and we can look up the icon set. We can go to info, we can search info, and if we filter by free icons, we'll find this circle.
Necessary only, start for free. Your email, I just want to use the icons, bro. Okay, so let's go to info. Maybe we can use a little bit different. How can we find the free one? Info, circle info. Should we use other one? Maybe circle like this. Maybe we can use this. Yeah, maybe we can use this. So it would be a little bit different from what James did.
Icon right here. If we click on that, what you can do is you can come down and you can look for this icon right here. Don't worry about selecting the React one, just the plain old HTML. And we can copy that code snippet and we can paste it inside of our button. Now, one thing to know about React is that you can't use class or the class attribute. It has to be class name. We'll see more of that when we style our project, but also when specifying the icons. And we can see if that has worked. If we come back into our project, we now have that icon right there. So we're making some good progress. The next section that we have to look at is the sidebar. Now the sidebar is going to...
Let's give it a check. Yeah, we can see it right there. Nice, looking awesome.
To have a div, and the div is going to have a dark background color, but we'll do that shortly. And in here, we're going to have an H2. That is once again going to say the name of the image, and that is going to be the Brutal Martian Landscape, keeping in mind that we'll come back and change all of this information later. Then what we're going to do is we're going to have a div, and this is going to...
Let's, what's it again? We title it? Footer, nope. It's in the sidebar. Nope, it's in the footer. The Brutal Milky Way. Let's just make this more fun. Brutal Milky Way, and then we have a div. What's inside the div?
To have a p tag that says description. And then here we can have another p tag, and this is going to have a whole lot of text about the picture that we're looking at in particular, but we'll come back and fill that out later. For the minute, that should do. So if we come back to our website, it's obviously looking pretty appalling. We've got a massively oversized image. We've got something up the top that doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, this is pretty much our, let's refresh it. And the sidebar is unvisible. It's not really visible. Wait, yeah, see, this is sidebar.
And it's time to get to some styling.
Nice.
The first thing we're going to style is actually the body of our document, or specifically the div with the ID of root. And so if we come back into our index, we're first going to get rid of some styles in here. I'm going to get rid of everything with
index of CSS.
Then the media query, we're going to delete that. I'm going to get rid of everything that it has on buttons and H1 text, and the body as well. We'll get rid of all of that. We'll get rid of the stuff on the anchor tag, and it looks like we're just keeping the root of the document, so that's absolutely fine.
Okay.
After that, what we're going to do is we're going to select the div with the ID of root to style. Now we can select elements inside of our CSS sheet to style using the pound if we're trying to select them by the ID.
By ID?
And then we just specify the ID. Now the styles I'm going to give this component is we're first off going to give it a minimum height. Now the min height is going to be 100% of the view height. We're also going to give it a display of flex. Now the display of Flex is going to reorder everything so that we have the description first and then the image. Now that's almost correct. What we're going to do is we're going to come into the app and we're going to have the main first and the sidebar second. So now if we come across, we have the description on the side and then we've got all this other stuff on the end. The other thing I'm going to do is come back.
Okay, this is kind of correct. It's just that our website is a bit push because the image is not working.
Back into the index.css, and I'm going to change the background color to 030615. That should be a hash or a hex code. 030615.
Let's do like a random color, like something like that. Maybe, I don't know, just some random color, I guess.
Like that. So that's going to be our new background color. And then the next element we're going to style is actually the image. Now the image itself, we can actually return that directly from the main with nothing else inside, and that doesn't need to be wrapped within any div tags. And we're going to give this a class of background image just like that.
Class name of BG image.
Now that's actually a class name, not just a class, and we can come into the index.css and select this element to style. We can give it a width of 100%, a height of 100%. We're going to give it a flex value of 1, and we're going to give it an object fit of cover. Now what this is going to do is it's going to make it look slightly more aesthetic on our page and a much better
So a flex of one.
value of 1. And we're going to give it an object fit of cover. Now what this is going to do is it's going to make it look slightly more
I'm not really entirely sure about that, but okay, I trust him. Okay, I'm not really sure which part of that.
aesthetic on our page and a much better size. And it should also be...
Is it responsive? It is not responsive, people. BGM, because I haven't. Okay, that's not good. It's kind of responsive, but it's not, yeah.
a little bit responsive. It's not quite, but we'll get to that shortly. And then what I'm also going to do inside of the index.css is create the asterisk selector. Now this selects everything on our page, and I'm going to give it a padding of 0, a margin of 0, and also a box sizing of border box. If we go ahead and save that, we can now see that everything sits flush with the edges of our container, which is just the way that we
I don't know why my image is like that, so
want it to. Now, as much as I said before that the main won't need a div, I think I changed my mind on that. So we're going to create a div and wrap the image, and that's going to now have a class equal to image container. And what we can do now is we can come back into the index.css, and just above the background image, we can select the image container, and we can give that a display of flex and a flex direction of column.
what was it again? It's going to be a display of flex, and it's going to be flex direction of column.
Now if we take a look at what that looks like in our screen, select the image container, and we can give that a display of flex and a flex direction of column. Now if we take a look at what that looks like in our screen, our image is now much more responsive. And
is it more responsive? From the looks like it, yeah. Let's trust James on this one.
Sits within the boundary of the container and resizes appropriately, which is just how we want it to. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to come to the footer. Now the footer, we can style that in here, and we can select the footer tag just by using the tag because we're not selecting it by the ID of the class. And that reminds me, the other thing we'll need to do is come up to our hashtag root and give this a display of relative. If the parent root has a display of relative, we can now give the footer a display of fixed. Now it's going to have a fixed display, which means that it's positioned out of the relative context of the page. So we have to specify where it sits directly. So we're going to give it a bottom of 0. So that will hold it to the bottom, and we're going to give it a left of 0. And we're also going to give it a width of 100% of the parent.
Okay.
So if I save that and refresh the page, we can see that nothing has changed. And that's because that shouldn't be display, that should be a position.
Oh. Position of fixed.
That was my bad. Let's just go ahead and remove that. A position of fixed.
Ah,
and
that's
now
nice.
We can see that that shows up down the bottom right here, which is where we want it. And what we're also going to do is give it a display of flex. We're going to say align items center. And we can also say a gap of 1 rem. And above the gap, we'll also just justify the content space between. And what that's going to do is that's going to push the icon down under my face over here, so we can see the icon on the very far side, which is just where we
How about that? Okay. Okay, the icon is over here. Everything is there. Nice.
want it. And now the other thing we're going to do is we're going to come back into the footer, and we're actually going to create a div just here. And this is going to have a class of background gradient, just like.
Okay, let's go to here with div dot background bg gradient. Look at that, nice.
That, and we can now come into the index.css and we can select the background gradient class. And this is going to have a position of absolute. It's going to have a inset of 0, which means that it's going to expand to the full width of the parent container, which is the footer. And it's going to have a z index of -1, which means that it's going to be layered behind everything else. And we're going to give it a background
inset again,
which is going to be a linear gradient to the top, and it's going to go from hashtag 030615 to an RGBA value of 255255255.
Okay. Hold on, James. Hold on. So it's going to be have a background properties of linear gradient. I haven't touched gradient at all. So to top, comma, and then to our number over there with a pound. We have another comma, RGBA of
0, so
it's completely something like that.
Completely transparent. And what that's going to do is it's just going to create a slight gradient color on the bottom that we can see right here to make sure that the text is slightly more readable. And what we're also going to do is just come up to the root, and we're going to change the color so that it's just a
Wait. I didn't quite see it, but okay.
Pure white. And I think we can get rid of the color scheme that's directly above it.
We can remove this. For the color, we can just use white.
So if we now save that, our text is white, we have that slight background gradient, and everything looks great. So now
I don't really see it. BG gradient, right? BG gradient. I'm not sure if I see it, so okay, I see that now. Nice. That's subtle. I didn't see that. Nice
time to
touch,
style
James.
our sidebar, and for that I'm going to give this div a class of sidebar.
div dot sidebar.
Now this one's going to be an interesting element as the styles are going to be dependent on the width of the page. And the first thing I'm going to do is create a div at the top of the sidebar.
Okay, so there's no closing div yet, I think.
And this one's going to be called background overlay.
Okay, there's another div bg overlay.
And then what I'm going to do is actually have another.
Oh wait, sorry, the sidebar is actually the aside one, because the aside one is basically just another div as well. It's just that it's more semantic, I guess. That's bg overlay. This one has a class name of sidebar.
Another div inside of here that's going to contain all the contents, and this is going to have a class of sidebar contents, just like.
Okay, so we have that, and then we have another div here, and then we have another div called no, it's not what I want. So I want a div dot sidebar contents. Okay, let's do that. It's gonna be here. It's gonna be good. Okay.
Like so. And now what that allows us to do is we can come into our index.css and we're first going to style out this section right here as if it were on a mobile display.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to target the sidebar and I'm going to give it a position of, once again, fixed. Now the inset of that is going to be 0, which means that it extends to the exterior of the entire page, and we can see that it's directly overlaid on the content. Now I'm also going to give it a display of flex, a flex direction of column, like so. So now it should come down on the page, and now what we can do is we can select the background overlay. Now the background overlay, this is going to have a position of absolute. We can once again give it an inset of 0, and this one is going to have a background of our standard color 030615, the hex code. If we save that, we can see that extends to the total page, and what we're going to do now is give this an opacity of 0.4, maybe 0.6, I think. And now we can see that's absolutely everywhere. We actually want the sidebar to sit above this footer text down here. So I'm going to come up to this sidebar just here and I'm going to give this a Z index of 10. Now it sits on top of those elements. And what we're going to do is we're going to select the sidebar content now. Was that sidebar contents? I think it might have been sidebar contents. And we're going to
Z index of 10 for the sidebar, and then sidebar contents. I am going insane. Let's see if there are any people, and that's right in the chat, because I can't really see the chat there. So I'm sorry if you wrote anything, people. I'm sorry. Probably no one watching, but just in case. No one's watching. Okay, nice. As expected. Last chance to extend your streak. Okay, fine. I'll do Duolingo first. Okay, guys. I'm so sorry. Apparently, I haven't. I thought I already did Duolingo. Did I already did Duolingo?
to give this a Z index of 15 so that it sits even higher. It's going to need a position of relative, and it's going to have a display of flex, a height of 80%, a width of 90%.
1 second, let me. Okay, Duo is angry. I want to continue this. One moment, okay? No thanks. Gehst du hinaus oder bleibst du drinnen? Do you want to go outside and eat? Die großen Zimmer sind hinten.
Das ist meine neue Wohnung. Das Wohnzimmer ist besonders gemütlich, aber der Balkon gefällt mir am besten, denn der Blick ist wunderschön.
Ist das große Kinderzimmer rechts? Die Küche ist gegenüber. Auf dem Boden. Mit wem chattet du? Chattet oder plauderst du?
Die Sonne scheint, aber das Wetter ist kühl.
Aber das Wetter ist cool. Die Wohnung ist 40 Quadratmeter groß. Quadratmeter groß.
Die kleinen Zimmer gehören den Kindern.
Die neue Wohnung ist direkt hinter dem Museum.
Wir essen heute im Garten. Wir sitzen auf dem Boden, denn das Gras ist weich. Aber es hat am Morgen geregnet. Hast du eine Decke?
Es schneit. Trotzdem, du musst aber grillen. Es schneit, aber du musst trotzdem grillen. Wir können essen und Schatten. Nice. Es schneit, aber du musst trotzdem grillen. Nice. Finish Duo for today. We're gonna finish James' project. Today we're halfway
We're going
there.
to give it a maximum height of 600 pixels.
We're giving it a Z index of 15. We're giving it a position of relative. And then after that, we're going to give it a display of flex. And then the height of 80%. And then the width of 90%. The max height is 600 pixels, he says, I think.
We'll also give it a maximum width of 800 pixels, and we'll give it a margin of auto. So now we can see that content comes up on top of our background overlay. And what I'll also do is give it a background color of our standard amount, 030615. And now that's completely opaque on our screen. And what I'll also do is give it a background color of our standard amount, 030615. And now that's completely opaque on our screen. I think I'll change the max height to be pixels. And one thing I'm actually going to change my mind about is I'm going to make the height 100% and I'm going to remove the maximum height. I'm going to make the width 90% and keep the max width, but what I'll do is I'll actually make it a margin left of auto. And what that's going to do is it's going to set this to the right
So far, correct.
hand side of our page, and that's
I think I really want to change the font, but it's okay, we can use this for now.
going to leave the little area out the side here. Now obviously on this size screen it looks a little bit odd, but we'll see how this works shortly. The other thing I'm going to do for the contents is we gave it a display. I'm going to give it a flex direction of column, a gap of 1 rem, and a padding also of 1 rem. So now everything sits vertical. Then we've got the description, and I'm also going to give it an overflow Y of scroll. So that's pretty cool. The last thing I'm going to do is come in here, and underneath all this section inside of the sidebar contents, I'm going to give a button down the bottom, and this is going to have a Font Awesome icon, and the icon is going to be the right
Mm-hmm. Okay. Which one did he use? And
hand arrow. I think that we want the right skinny arrow, so we're just going to copy that.
okay, I'm gonna use the circle arrow because we want to be different that badly. Circle arrow, right? Circle arrow. What's the difference between this and that? Let's do this one. Copied, and we put it there. Class name. Yeah. Oh, would you look at that? Nice.
That into the project, paste that in there, making sure that we change that to a class name. Now this is going to be used to close this sidebar. Obviously it looks terrible, but we will fix that shortly. And we want it to sit down the very bottom. So if we come to the sidebar contents, what we can do is we can target the sidebar contents and select the div within, which is going to contain all the paragraph text. And we can just give that a flex of 1, and that's going to shoot our arrow down to the very bottom. Now, if we wanted to select the button, we can target the sidebar contents and access the button within that. And we can give that a background of transparent, a color of white, borders of none, outline of none as well. And we also want to give it a margin right
Man, he types
of
really
auto,
fast.
and that will set it at the left hand.
Border of none.
And we also want to give it a margin right of
Border. Udah. Border of none. It's going to have an outline of none. And then a margin right. So, not that. Margin dash right equals to auto,
and that will set it at the
Auto.
left hand side down the bottom.
Nice, lovely. That's not what I want to do. Let's go here and boom, it's there. It's just a bit tiny though.
Just where we want it. Now that was the mobile display. We can make this responsive for a big screen display by adding in a media query.
Media query.
And we do that by having the @media, and in here we can specify the width at which we want the large screen displays to apply. And we do that by adding a min width, and I'm going to do it at the 640 pixel breakpoint. And now that we have our media query, I'm also just going to change the width to be 80%. And inside here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to target the sidebar, and I'm also going to target the sidebar contents. And these are styles that are going to apply when we exceed this minimum width criteria. Now inside of the sidebar, we're going to change the position from being fixed to relative so that it will sit in the context of the page.
Okay.
We're going to set the inset to unset, so we're going to unset the inset, and we're going to give it a minimum width of 30% of the view width. And for the sidebar contents, we're just going to give that
With a min width of 30%.
a margin of unset. Now if we go ahead and save that, that's going to mean that we have our image over here. We've got our nice little description on the side.
Even a scroll here. Why is that?
That all looks very good. And what I'm also going to do is give this a box shadow of 0, 0, 10 pixels, 10 pixels, hashtag 030615. And what that's going to do is it's going to create this shadow overlay. Obviously that looks pretty shocking. So let's change
Oh, yeah. Pretty shocking indeed.
the blur to a 1. And the final values we're going to go with in there is a 0, 0 for the directions and a 40 and a 1 pixel shadow, so that it just looks a little bit nicer with the image in the
Ah, that's nice. So nice.
background. And so now if we resize our page, basically on the smaller screen it comes up as this complete overlay. When we hit the 640 pixel display width, what happens is it just sits on the side. Now the next thing we have to do
Okay. Yeah. But why do I have 2 scroll wheels? Wait, what did I do wrong? In the is it correct? The overflow scroll, right?
is actually make it so that this element right here is conditionally displayed, and it's time for some proper React code. So if we come into the app component, what we can do is define a state. Now a state is just a variable, just a regular variable, except in React it's used for managing interactivity.
Yeah.
And the way that we
pretty much
define
already
it
know.
is we say const, and then we use the square parentheses, and in here we define the variable. So the variable is called show modal. And then if we comma separate it, we have a second element in the array, and this is a function that we use to set the value of the variable. So typically the way we define or name that function is it's just set and then the name of the variable. So in this case it's going to be set show modal, and that's going to be equal to use state. We have to make sure that we import the hook up the top of our page, just up there, and then if we optionally provide a default value inside of the circular parentheses, in this case the default value is going to be false. And what that allows us to do is if we wrap the sidebar inside of these curly parentheses and then the circular parentheses, we can conditionally render it.
Ah,
So we can say show modal.
So we want to wrap this in a curly braces. Wait, what? Like this, right? Show modal.
If that's true, we use the double ampersand, and only when that's true do we render out the sidebar. So currently the sidebar is false, and here we have a closing tag. We actually don't need that in this case. So I can make it a self-closing tag. And now we just have our project.
Okay, and then I think once we press the button somewhere, we're going to set the condition from false to true, which then would like make it an open and close thingy. Yeah.
If I change this to be true, we can see that the modal now shows up. So what we can do is we can make our little icon down the bottom behind my head interactive, and that's going to open and close our modal to show the information. So all of that is contained within the footer. So if we come into the footer, the first thing we have to actually style is the H2 because currently it looks pretty shocking. So if we come into the index.css, we can come down to the footer just above the media query. The media query always goes at the bottom of the page. And what I'm going to do is take this footer and style it in the location where we have all the other footer styles. So in here I'm going to target the footer and then the H2. That's going to have a font size of 1.4 rem. We're going to target the footer and the H1. That's going to have a font size of 0.9 rem. It's also going to have a font weight of 100.
Okay, wait. Font size of 1.4 rem. This is the what you call it, the relative value, and H1, which is font size of 0.9 rems, and then a font dash weight of 300.
So it's extra thin. Now we can see that down the bottom, the APOD project. It's very light. I might actually make it maybe like a 200, just so it's much smaller. We're going to give the footer itself a padding of 1 rem so that everything sits inwards a little bit. That's going to
Much better. Much better. I think.
look a little bit
Okay, yeah, that's much better.
cleaner. And what we also want to do is we have this div inside the footer. If we target the footer and then the div, which contains the H1 and the H2, we can give it a display of a flex direction of column, and I'm going to have a gap of 0.5 rem. So now it just means that our title and the name of the project set up
Flex direction of column. And then a gap of 0.5 rem. Nice.
part. We could honestly take that down to a 0.2 rem, so it's just very small. Actually, I think we can even just remove it altogether.
Okay, James.
So now we have the title of the project, the Brutal Martian Landscape. We have our button and we have the APOD project, which is the name of the website. So what we can do now is start interacting with the icon. So the icon is inside the button. So here we have the button. Now if we come in here, do we have any button styles? We do, sidebar contents. So now what we want to do is use some similar styles except on the footer. So we can target the footer and we can select the button within the footer and we can give it a background of transparent. We can give it a
They are transparent. Nice. And then a border.
border of none, an outline of none, like so. And so now we have a plain icon. We want to set the color of the icon to white, so it shows up in the corner just down there. We're going to give the button a padding of 1 rem, and we're going to target the icon within the button and give it a size. So we're going to say footer, button, then the icon, and we'll give it a font size of 1.3.
Kind of 1 rem, correct. And then the footer, button, and then the I, which is font size 1.3 rems.
3 rem, so it's a little bit larger. Now to make it interactive, we're also going to say footer, button, and give it a hover state. Now in here, we're
Yay.
just going to set the opacity to 0.5, and we'll also have to come up to the footer button and just give it a transition duration.
We skipped the transition like module, but it's okay.
Of 200 milliseconds. So now when we hover over it, it just goes a little bit dark.
Maybe 0.5. Maybe 0.7. Much better, much nicer, more subtle.
Darker. That's probably a bit dark, so I might change that to a 0.7. And we'll also give it a cursor of pointer,
Cursor
and that way
pointer.
it looks the clicky thing just here. That looks nice and neat. And what I'll also do for the footer itself, we have a line item center. I'm actually going to remove that, and I think that's looking pretty good. Now what we want is when we click that icon to show the nav menu. And the way that that's going to work is we're going to come into our app and we're going to have a function called handle display modal. Or even better, what I could do is handle toggle modal. Like so. And what we're going to do in here is we're going to call the setter function. So we're going to set the new state. And it's just going to invert the show modal state.
Okay,
so that's pretty
Copilot.
straightforward.
You already read
So this is just assigning a new state or a new value to the variable show modal. And now what we can do is we can take this function and we can pass it into the footer via something known as props.
Props.
So it allows
Finally,
us to
using
communicate
props.
information between components. So in here, I can define a prop name called showModal, and I can assign a value to it, which just coincidentally is going to be the value assigned to showModal. So this is called a prop. It's basically an attribute for a component. And now if we come into the footer, we can receive that via the props. We can tell our functional component to expect the props.
Props. Nice.
And then what we can do is we can destructure out the value, showModal, and we'll actually also need the handle toggle modal function, even more so than the actual value, to be honest. And we can destructure that out of props. And now what I can do is I can assign that function to the onClick event of the button.
Ah, okay. Okay, we're getting into more some of the modal. It is a function. So handle toggle modal, handle toggle modal, handle toggle modal.
So if we come back up here, it's actually the handle toggle modal that needs to be passed down.
Ah, okay.
As the prop. And so now, just like the handle toggle modal that needs to be passed down as the prop, and so now, just like that, our button is interactive. To the icon within the button.
Where did we do wrong? Wait, okay, sidebar. Oh, the sidebar also has some props. I did not see that. Wait, yeah, let me sidebar, handle toggle modal, handle toggle modal. Huh?
props. And once again, we can destructure out, we can receive that via the props. We can tell our functional component to expect the props. And then what we can do is we can destructure out the value, showModal, and we'll actually also need the handle toggle modal function, even more so than the actual value, to be honest. And we can destructure that out of props. And now what I can do is I can assign that function to the onClick event of the button. So if we come back up here, it's actually the handle toggle modal that needs to be passed down as the prop. And so now, just like
Okay. I'm not really sure why this is so different. Maybe we don't need the scrollable Y thing because it's kind of annoying. Why is it? Just like this, right?
Like that, our button is interactive. We can see that when I clicked it, it showed up the modal. Now what we also want to do is handle toggle modal. We want to pass that into our sidebar. So we can pass it in as props just the same. We can come into our sidebar component and we can tell it to expect the props. And once again, we can destructure out the value from the props. And now what I can do is I can hit handle toggle modal. We can assign that as an on click to the div so that when we click the overlay, it shuts the modal, which is super cool. And what we can do is
It's below the sidebar. It's here, so it's going to be on click.
we can assign it to the button as well. So now when you hit the on click just here,
Oh, what was that, man? So click handle toggle modal as well.
it also closes this modal. So that's super neat. Now we obviously haven't styled that completely. So if we come down to where we have the
Okay, we haven't placed a hover in there, so let's put it in our hover.
sidebar contents button, we want to give this the same cursor pointer. We want to give it a transition duration of 200 milliseconds, and we want the dot sidebar contents button to have a hover effect where we set the opacity once again to 0.7. So now when I hover over that, it's goes the right color.
Ooh, nice. Let's work on both.
I might also just give it the same padding of 1 rem, so it's a little bit larger. So now we hover over that, it goes away. And we now have our functioning application that is also mobile responsive, which is super cool. I come onto a small screen, it comes up, we see the information, and we can close it. So now we have all that done, the next thing we need to do is actually fetch the information. And what we're going to need for that is to create an API key for the NASA API. Now this website will be linked in the description down below. And what you'll want to do is fill out your first name, your last name, your email, and they will send you an API key. Now I'm not going to show you mine, but essentially it should just be a large string of characters. And what we're going to do to make our application secure is save it in a .env file.
Okay, let's get the API key. I'm not sure if they will give it out right away or not. Let me fill in my data. One moment, I am signing it up. You can use your API key to begin making web services requests immediately. Okay, let's check Gmail. Oh, not that, not that. Not that as well. I don't know why. It's just like a wrong click. Anyway. Okay, hi. You're receiving this email to creation of API key. Okay, you can start using this key to make or serve requests by referring to a relevant agency API. Okay, we received the API key already. Okay, nice. Okay, James, how should we do that?
Now, inside of the env file, we can save our API key and we assign it to a variable.
Okay, so we create a new file, .env.
So this is going to be Vite underscore NASA underscore API underscore key. And I'm just going to set that equal to the string that was in the email that I got sent. And you don't want to show this to anyone. So now I've copied in that key and saved that file and closed it.
Okay,
And now what we can do is inside of our app, we can come in here and we can access the value of the API key. I can say const NASA underscore key.
okay, I'll put my API key, and oh god, I'm gonna be so stupid and like display my API key somewhere, and then NASA's gonna come at me, or something. Do I put the string inside that, or just okay? Let's close that, and okay, I already copy pasted. Okay.
Key, all caps for API key, is equal to import.meta.vite underscore NASA underscore API key. So that's the name of the variable that we created.
Okay, const NASA underscore key, and after this, I think we need to create the git ignore if you want to import dot meta dot that, correct?
And I realized after .meta it's .env, so we just
Compile
have to throw
one
that
again.
in there like that. So now we have our key secured, and this is the variable that we can refer to the API key from inside our application so that no one can actually see it. Now, the next thing we're going to have to do is actually access the API. And the way that the API works, if we scroll down, there's a couple of things to note. They have an API rate limit remaining, so there's only a certain number of requests that you're allowed to make on a regular basis. So it looks here, it says a default hourly limit of 1,000 requests. And if we come down to the actual API, here we can see the URL. So what we can do here is start to call some information. Now in React, the way that we fetch data from an API is we use a useEffect hook.
Okay, wait, where is the HTTP request? I did not see that. I think it's in the APOD, right? And then it's here. APOD as a planetary gov. Okay, it's this one. So we can copy that.
So what we can do here is start to call some information. Now in React, the way that we fetch data from an API is we use a useEffect hook. Now the useEffect hook takes an arrow function as an input in addition to an array. Now the array is known as the dependency array, and the function just here is the logic to be executed whenever the requirements of the dependency array are satisfied. Now we have to I'm
gonna rewrite that because wait, so it's useEffect. So if we want to fetch data, we're going to use effect. It's going to have a arrow function, and okay, maybe we should not do that. So after this, it's going to take an empty array, and yeah, that's done.
import useEffect up the top of our project.
Import useEffect already.
And for this arrow function, this anonymous arrow function, I'm going to open that up so that we have some code in here. Now useEffect listens to particular events in our application. If we have a blank dependency array, that says to run this function whenever our page loads.
Okay.
If we instead have a variable in here, for example, I could have show modal, then what happens is this function only gets executed when the variable changes. Now we want to fetch information on our page load, so we have an empty dependency array, and now what I can do is inside here I can define a function, an asynchronous function, and that can be called fetch API data. Now if we open that up on a new line, I can say const URL is equal to a string, and I can just go ahead and paste in this get request string right here.
Yeah.
What we're also going to do is add onto the end a plus, and we're going to add on some backticks. Now the backticks is a template literal string, and that's going to add on a question mark, and then we're just going to add in our API key, and then we're going to use the $sign and the curly parentheses to allow us to import some JavaScript into this string, and we're going to send in the NASA key. Now what I'm actually going to do is bring this NASA key inside of this function right here, because we're going to need it only when we fetch the data from the API. And the next thing
what did I just press? So move it here, right?
I'm going to do is define a try.
Data. The NASA. Still the same.
Try and a catch block. Now we're going to catch the error, and if we get an error, we're going to console.log error.message so that we can read the message. And inside of the try block, we're going to say const response is equal to await. We're going to use the fetch API to fetch data, and we're going to pass in the URL. After that, what we can do is say const data is equal to and await the res.json method. That's going to give us back some JSON, and we can then console.log the data, and I can then print that out, and we could have a look at it in
data, and then boom.
inside of our browser. Now the last thing we have to do inside of here is actually call the fetch data API method that we just defined, or the function. And now if we come back to our application and go into our console, we can see right here we have sent out that call.
Okay, let's see. Okay, do you get the data? React Dev Tool. Okay, what is this? Ah, okay. Ooh. We're definitely gonna look at this another time.
Call to the NASA API, we passed in our API key, and we have a whole lot of information. We've got an explanation, we've got the URL for the image, we've got a date, and we've got the title. So what
Very cool, very nice. Error. API key invalid. What? Wait. Why is it invalid? I just got the
we can do
email.
with that information is we can define a new state up the top.
Wait. Let me fix it. I am not sure. Okay, I probably forgot to import it, right?
I'm going to say const data and
Do I need to put it in like a quote, maybe? Server restarted. Okay, wait. Wait, guys. Let me fix this. Why is the API not working? How about now? Forbidden? Huh? What? Feed underscore NASA underscore API underscore key. Feed underscore NASA underscore API underscore key. NASA key. James. Meta. Okay.
Set data is equal to use state, and that's going to have a default value of parentheses to allow us to import some JavaScript into this string, and we're going to send in the NASA key. Now,
Oh my God. You know what? That's all we forgot to do. Oh my God. Finally it works. We make an API call to the NASA. That's very cool. I hope I didn't accidentally show my API key, so because that would be very, very dumb. But something that I would totally do. Okay. Okay, that's nice. Okay. This is our breaking point, right? And then if we go here, why is it not, what? Oh, because the image only goes that far. Yeah, okay.
what I'm actually going to do is bring this NASA key inside of this function right here, because we're going to need it only when we fetch the data from the API. And the next thing I'm going to do is define a try display flex API as a prop to everything. So I can say data is equal to data second linear.
Too far.
And in here, what I'm going to do is set loading, and that's going to be equal to
Okay, so we're in the function app again. He added another use state for the data. So const data, so data, and it's going to have another use state with it's a null, and then another use effect, right? I think
use state of also false initially. And with the data state now defined, what we can do here
const, we're going to have a loading, set loading use set equals to
of also false
and then
initially. And with the data state now defined, what we can do here is we can rename this variable to be API data. And then underneath that, we can say set data is equal to API data, like so. And then we can instead console that out down the bottom. And now once we have the data, that and instead console that out down the bottom. And now once we have the data, that's actually when we want to show the main. So what I'm going
sorry, now I know. So any errors, so we haven't set the data in loading, so
and now once we say set data is equal to API data, like so, and then we can instead console that out down the bottom. And now once we have the data, that's actually when we want to show the main. So what I'm going to do in here is wrap the main in curly parentheses and then circular parentheses. And only when we have the data are we going to show the main. So we're going to say data and main. But actually even more than that is we're going to make it a conditional statement using the question mark. And if the data is true, we'll render out the main, and then we can have an alternative case. And in here, what I'm going to do is have a div. This is going to have a class name of loading state. And in here, we're going to have an icon. Now the icon, if we come over to font order.
So if there is no data, we're going to have a div with a class name of loading state, and
in here, we're going to have an icon. Now the icon, if we come over to Font Awesome, is going to be the gear, like so, just this one right here.
the gear. Maybe we can do something else and add some animation. Can we do loading? It's practically the same, right? Spinner. Let's do spinner.
If we go ahead and copy that, we can paste it in just like that, making sure that we update the class for a class name, and that's going to show while we don't have the data. So now what I'm going to do is just console out the fetch data API. So if we come back to our application, we can see that the
Yep.
loading state shows up. So now we can go ahead and style that. If we come into the index.css, we can select the loading state. Where is that? Here's the loading state right here. We can select the loading state and we can just say display flex, align items center, justify content center, and give it a flex of 1. So it will still take up the full state. The loading is in the center. Now we want to target the icon within. So that's going to be loading state and then select the icon. And this is going to have an opacity of 0.2 and a font size of 3 rem. So it's going to be pretty big, nice and large. And then what we can also do
Spin it around.
is give it an animation. So we're going to say animation, and that's going to be equal to spin 1 second linear and infinite. And then we can go at keyframes. We can define spin, and we can just say from transform rotate 0 degrees, and then we can go to transform rotate 360 degrees. So that's going to have it spinning full time, just like that.
Oh, nice.
60 degrees. So that's going to have it spinning full time, just like that, as we load in the image. And we're actually going to need to have this footer also be conditional logic. So this is going to also need to be wrapped inside of the curly and then circular parentheses, and this is also going to be data and show the footer. So a lot of our application is going to
So data. So the data is going to show the footer, right? And then in the footer,
just be this loading state until we get the data. So now if I bring back this
beautiful. I get it now. It's
function,
lovely.
let's have it call again.
Yeah, it's working.
If I refresh the page, we get the loading state and then we get the data load in. In a minute, we'll come back and look at how we can cache that data. But now what we can do is we can actually pass in the data as a prop to everything. So I can say data is equal to data.
Where's the sidebar?
Into the sidebar, and I can do the same for the footer. Now, if we do the footer first and come inside here, we know that we're going to receive the data. And we can now swap out the name to data, and then we're going to use the optional chaining syntax just in case it doesn't exist. And in here, we're going to show the title. So that's data.title. And that's going to be it for the footer. So that's pretty straightforward. Swirling magnetic field around our galaxy's central black hole. That's what we're looking at. And now if
we already input the data there, so why is it not working? The color is set on Cassini. Okay, it's working. It's working.
If we come into the sidebar,
we're also going to destructure the props.
In here, we also receive the data as props. And now what we can do is we can, once again, swap out the name. We can use the circular parentheses to render out the title using the question mark just to make it safe. For the description, we can go ahead and input data
title, and then for the description, we can have data.explanation.
question mark dot explanation. That should be pretty cool. So now if I open that up, we get a whole
Oh wow, that's beautiful. That's cool.
big explanation. I'm actually just going to also style this description title here. So we'll call that description title. We'll give this a class. So I'll copy that, come into the index for the sidebar contents, paste that, and we'll give this a font size of 0.9 rem, a font weight of 200. That should just make it a bit smaller, the description right there. Perhaps we go the opposite direction and we make it a 1.1 rem. I think could be pretty good. So there's the description.
Lovely. It looks looking great so far.
I'll also just give this sidebar div a class of description container. Then we can go ahead and
Is it in the
perhaps we go the opposite direction and we make it a 1.1 rem. I think could be pretty good. So there's the description. I'll also just give this sidebar div a class of description container. Then we can go ahead and target that .description container. We'll give that a display of a flex direction of column, and a gap of just 0.5 rem to separate the header from the actual description. So there we've got that.
Oh, that's cool, but why is it not that much different, is it?
Now we can see what's actually going on. I might also update the title. So here we have sidebar contents h2. We can go ahead and select that sidebar contents .h2. And I might just give that a font weight also of 200 and a font size of 1.4 rem, just so it's a bit smaller. So here we have the name, we have the description, and then we have
Actually, I kind of like it having a thicker one, so let's keep it that way.
the actual description, so that's pretty cool. We've got our little back button, which works nicely. One thing I'm going to do with our button is I'm going to change the padding to be 1 rem vertically and 0 horizontally, so that it just sits to the left align. 1 rem vertically and 0 horizontally, so that it just sits to the left aligned perfectly. We can go ahead and close that. And what I might actually do is even come back and change this from saying description to actually just be the date. So we're going to change this to data question mark dot date, because I think that will look clean as.
Nice.
If we come back in here, it's got the date and then we've got the description. So I think that looks super tidy. And finally, we've got the image. So this is also going to need to receive props. In here, we can destructure the data out from the props. And now what we can do is we can make the alt, we can give it a dynamic alt that's equal to data.title. In this case, we can provide a backup which is the background image, just in case that doesn't come through. And the source can be equal to data dot and in here we should be able to access the HD URL. So now we can save that. And now we get an error because we haven't actually passed that down.
You want to pass it down to the app, to the main, right?
So all we have to do here is just make sure that our main also has access to the data. And now if I refresh
Oh my god, that's beautiful.
the page, we load in the image. And looking at this, I might also just make sure that we do come into the footer and just give the footer display a gap of, 0.5 rem.
Was it not filling up the image, the whole page
Just to
though?
separate it out a little bit. Like that. I might even swap the order of those two, to be honest. Have the H2 underneath. That looks much cleaner. And then we could probably go ahead and remove the gap instead. I think think that looks super nice. So I've got apod project swirling magnetic field around our black hole. We can come and read more about it. We can close that. We can also select the thing there. Now the last thing we have to do is cache the information. Now the caching is really simple. Basically inside of our fetched data, all we have to do is we have to add in a clause here. So what we're going to do is we're going to say const today is equal to new, and we're going to instantiate a date, the date class, and we're going to say toDate string.
Wait, it's not supposed to stay there, is it? Is it only like suitable for mobile? What happened? What was that? Why is it like that? Some of it is still broken.
And now what we're going to do is we're going to say local key is equal to NASA dash, then we're going to use the backticks, and we're going to have today.
What is that, and what is it that we're going to do? Caching. It's on top of the try catch block, right? So it's on top of the try catch block. What we want to do is have
So that's our local key. And now we can say if local storage.getItem local key, if that exists, then we can actually fetch the data from local storage. So we can say,
so I mean, like it's like keeps the data inside of the local storage, so you don't need to get it all the time, I think.
if we've already gone to local storage today, then we can actually access everything. So I could say const API data is equal to JSON. We have to pass the JSON saved in the local storage. JSON.pass local storage.getItem local key. Then once we've passed it, that should be all good. So now what we can do is we can just set data equal to the API data, and everyone is happy. And then what we have to do is return out of the function. If we get past that condition, that means that the today key does not work. In which case, what we want to do is we want to say local storage.clear. We want to clear everything in the local storage. And then once we've found this API data, we want to say local storage.setItem local key. And the data that we want to set is json.stringify, and we want to string
local storage root set item local key. My vision is already blurry. This is definitely not healthy. API data. Okay.
stringify the API data. So what we could even do is we could add in a console.log here that says fetched from cache today. And then what we could also do is if we come down, we could say just here fetched from, we could say just that says fetched from cache today. And then what we could also do is if we come down, we could say just here fetched from API today.
So it's local storage dot set item open local key and then JSONify stringify API data.
So if we go ahead and save that, we can see we now fetch the data from the
Fetch from cache today.
cache, and that's going to prevent us from absolutely burning through our
So
local
that's why we need
storage
to,
calls.
yeah.
So now we refresh the page, it's fetched from the cache. And then what I could do is I could come into the application inside of the developer tools, and I could go ahead and delete that key. And then if I come back to the console, we now fetch it from the API key instead. So that's our whole application done. Now it's time to deploy it to the internet. And the way that I'm going to do that is
Wait, no. Inside of here, fetch from, it's not from cache, it's from the API. It's this one, right? Yes. But since all of this is from cache, the child contains the parent. Set timeout. There's a lot of error, to be honest. I'm still not really sure why. Oh, the loading is still not working? Didn't I put the loading? Well, did he mention any
I'm
loading?
first going to save this code to GitHub. Now, if you want to get started with GitHub, I've got some good videos in my channel, but I've also got a guide linked in the description down below. I personally use GitHub Desktop just because it's so easy. And what we're going to do is once it's installed, you should be able to open this graphic user interface. We're going to come over to the menu.
Wait. What happened to the set loading? I don't remember that. Wait. Where's the API? Oh, I learned code support channel, GitHub repo. Okay. Source component in the app. We have the loading and set loading, but I don't remember using it anywhere. Right, we don't really use it, do we? Apparently we just set the loading, set loading. We didn't really do anything about it, didn't we? Wait. James McArt. something's not still wrong with this. So I'm still not sure. Why is it not like fully? Huh.
This will also
I'm not gonna
equal
deploy
to
it.
100%. And where we find our side nav just in here, we want to make sure that the max height is equal to 100%.
Okay.
Actually, it looks like we have a few issues.
Yes, we have.
The other one that we want to fix is if we come up, you can see right here, and we get this nice image viewer, and we can also click on the information icon and read all about it. Now there's one style element that's being a little bit funny, and that is our side nav. Now the one thing we want to do to fix that is just come back into the index.css, and where we find our side nav just in here, we want to make sure that the max height is equal to 100%. Actually, it looks like we have a few issues. The other one that we want to fix is if we come up to the sidebar contents, we also want to make sure that this width right here, if we come down to the sidebar contents, we want to set the width to 100%. That's going to be much better. And instead of setting that to 100%, I think that should actually be 100% view height. So now that scrolls properly.
That's working, but why is the image so bad? Yeah, you know what? I'll fix it tomorrow, but it's working.
The other thing we want to just change quickly is if we come up to the image or the image container, we want to make sure that this also has a maximum height of 100% of the view height. And that should solve all of our problems. So now our image is much more responsive. Everything.
Nope, not responsive. Oh wait. Nope, not responsive. I don't know why. Why isn't it working?
Looks good, and now we can experience it the way that it should be. So we can go ahead and come back over to our GitHub. We can commit those. Awesome. As always, if you've enjoyed the video,
There's still some issue. I'm not sure why is my image on the left side and then I can't really suppose fully close this except in here. And if it's on mobile, it's going to, it only looks fine, but I guess that's cool. Okay, I think we finished it, even though it's a bit weird, but we did it in 2 hours. I'll do some touch-ups and probably put it on GitHub tomorrow. And yeah, that's all for today. Oh my god, I'm gonna shower and sleep after this. Good night, guys. Bye. Thank you for watching. Thank you, James, for the amazing tutorial. I'm gonna do more. So I think if we put it in a review, it's not as bad as I think. I think he explained it and showed very easy way about this. We use 2 hooks, use state and then use effect, and I kind of understand now a little bit about them, because previously when I tried to use it, props, I don't understand props at all previously, but now I know how to do them. Conditional rendering, creating functional components, styling a little bit with the div, with the all new stylings, a little bit of animation, a little bit of transition, and yeah, so much more that I think will help in making the future project. But yeah, again, that's for tonight. I'll fix and probably do something about it tomorrow or in 2 days or whatever. But yeah, have an awesome day, awesome night, awesome evening. Whew. Don't drink coffee after 7 p.m. Just don't do it. Bye.